City Council, June 15th, 2020, 7 p.m. Heidrich.
Aye.
Holtzmeyer.
Aye.
Obermark.
Aye.
Hatke.
Here.
Pettit.
Here.
Skornia.
Here.
Solentrop. Wessels.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will all the council members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the regular meeting dated June 1, 2020? Heidrich.
Aye.
Holtzmeyer.
Aye.
Obermark.
Aye.
Hatke.
Aye.
Pettit.
Yes.
Skornia.
Yes.
Solentrop. Wessels.
Aye.
Okay, having read the minutes, any comments?
If not, I'll make a motion. Second.
Motion by Heidrich, second by Holtmeyer, to approve the minutes from the June 1st council meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Approval and adjustment of agenda. Just need a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Pettit, second by Heidrich. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you.
Citizens' comments?
Is there anyone here in the audience who would like to address the council on any item that's not on the agenda? Seeing none?
Unfinished business, certification of June 2nd, 2020 election results by the verification board.
All right, just the election results from the June 2nd election. Obviously, it was postponed in April to June 2nd. So I think we all have that in your packet as far as everyone who's voted in. So all we need is a motion.
Make a motion. Second.
Motion by Heidrich, seconded by Holtmeyer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Council comments?
Is there any councilman who would like to make a comment at this time? Hearing none? I make a,
Motion to adjourn.
we need a motion to adjourn the first meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Pettit, seconded by Heidrich. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you. We're adjourned.
Okay.
Thanks all for coming.
That's the best meeting that's ever happened. Thank you very much.
This went so smooth, Jeff.
God.
Newly elected council members.
It does, it's not hooked up.
You.
Yeah, sorry. They had to,
That's fine.
It was hard to leave your deck, wasn't it?
What?
It was hard to leave your deck, wasn't
in
it?
order to get that camera to work on it.
That's fine.
You want to, do you have, you don't have any?
We'll know exactly what year it was.
Sal's.
Good, buddy. How are you?
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm that you possess all the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of council, that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Missouri, the provisions of all laws of this state affecting cities of the third class, and the ordinances of the city of Washington, and faithfully demean yourself in office, so help you God? Congratulations. I need you each to sign.
All right. What's the question? Extend it again? I can't.
You didn't know him, so his dad. But if he was here, they'd be twins. His dad.
Oh, so he and his dad?
What?
Crazy week.
Identical. It was unbelievable.
Maybe I'll give it to my kids and see if they care about this as much as I care about their report card.
Put it on the fridge.
That's a really good point.
Maybe they'll want to take my picture too.
I remember either.
You didn't?
No,
Now you're
I've been doing this 10 years.
That's funny.
That ain't right.
That's, it felt fancy.
solemnly swear or affirm that you possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of city attorney, that you will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Missouri, the provisions of all laws of this state affecting cities of the third class, and the ordinances of the city of Washington, and faithfully demean yourself in office, so help you God? I do.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Bianco.
Thank you. And the same to all of you.
Thank you.
Whenever you're ready, you can call it to order.
All right. Call the meeting to order, please.
Special meeting of Washington, Missouri City Council, June 15th, 2020, 7:07 PM. Hang on here. Heidrich?
Aye.
Oltmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark?
Aye.
Atke?
Here.
Pettit?
Here.
Skornia? Here. Sulentrop? Wessels?
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval and adjustment of agenda, including consent agenda. On your consent agenda, you have the Collector's Report Summary, February 2020, Investment Report, February 2020, Liquor License Renewals for Vino de Lafayette and the Sandbar, Final Pay Request, BFA Inc., High Street, Ron Avenue Watershed, Change Order 1 for SK Contracting Freight Depot. On your blotter, you have a request to postpone the public hearing for Locust and 8th Street rezoning and the development plan, and you also have a blotter item, Change Order Number 2 for SK Contracting for the freight building.
All right, so everyone had their blotter items. The letter basically says the reason for postponement. And the second change order request
On the freight building.
on the freight building, correct.
Wayne, was that just the boards on the backside that were bad? Can you explain?
No, the second change order.
No, but he's talking about the first one of the added.
Oh, the first one?
Yeah, the added.
Yes. The first one is the rotten wood on the building.
Okay.
The one that you just received a letter for today is
Yeah.
an update to that. I was hoping that we could have this finalized on Friday, but it didn't happen. On the paint, kind of background history on that. When we went out to bid for this, we specified one coat of paint because we were planning on using the same colors that the building is in now, that yellow, light yellow, and the dark green, forest green trim color, and that would have worked well. But when we changed colors, we still thought one coat would cover, but they actually, since I had to come back to you guys with the rotten wood, we decided to do a test today with S&K, and I had Chad down there, and he did verify that it is going to take 2 coats, and so that's the additional fee that you see in front of you. So that makes then the total $26,754.
Just a reminder, this is coming out of the Capital Improvement Sales Tax Fund. We had $110,000 set aside for both the freight depot building and also, as well as Waterworks.
So, Wayne, you're telling me that we're getting charged on the second change order over half of what the original, or no, over half of what the original contract price was?
Yeah, the original was for $12,734, and then the additional second coat is going to be $7,800.
Wow.
Labor's not cheap.
This prevailing wage job?
No. It's less than 75.
I make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Holtmeyer and a second by Pettit to approve the contract with S&K and the 2 change orders.
What about
It's to accept the agenda and.
the entire
And then-
consent agenda?
I'm sorry, we're in, that's right, the entire consent agenda, sorry. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you carry the motion. Thank you.
Priority items, city council elections, election of mayor pro tem.
All right, at this time, we'll take any nominations for the position of mayor pro tem.
I'll nominate Nick Goldmark.
I hear one nomination for Nick Obermark by Councilman Solentrup. Is there any other,
Is there
is there a second?
Second.
Second by Hydrich.
any others?
Is there any other nominations for the position of mayor pro tem? Okay, hearing none. There are no further nominations, so the nominations for the office of mayor pro tem are closed. All in favor of Nick Obermark as mayor pro tem? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Nick, you get the seat I so shortly held.
Get back. If you want to grab your name, and you guys can just switch. It's no big deal.
I think that's what you need.
Second good catch. He did that twice.
COVID, you can't have my water.
Can't have my water.
You ready, Nick?
Yep.
Election of council member to Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Mark Hydridge. He's presently on the planning and zoning, and he's done a pretty good job. It's a pretty difficult position unless you go to a bunch of meetings prior to becoming on that commission. You really don't know what's going on. So I recommend we keep Mark as planning and zoning liaison.
I'd like to nominate Gretchen Pettit for planning and zoning also. For P and Z.
How about on the first motion, is there a second for Mark Hydrich?
No, sorry.
A second for Mark Hydrich.
And then you had a motion for Gretchen, is there
Yeah.
a second for Gretchen?
Second for Gretchen.
I'll make a second.
Any others?
No others?
So do them one at a time.
One at a time?
Yeah.
Before we do this, can I go back to Greg and ask him a question? Greg, how long were you on planning and zoning?
About 18 years.
18 years?
Yeah, I went on when Walt Larson was mayor.
That was when you got appointed to the board.
Yeah.
Are you asking when, how
Since
long?
you're councilman, how many years have you been? Weren't you on there a couple of years?
I think I was on it 5 years, maybe, yeah, either 5 or 6 years while I was a councilman.
And Mark, how many years have you been on now?
1 or 2?
I've been on there 2.
2 years?
I'm going on my 3rd now, yeah, or would think, yeah, I've been on there 2.
Close nominations?
Yep.
No other nominations? Nominations are closed. How do we do, roll call or show of hands?
Yeah, one at a time for Hydrich roll call.
Okay. Roll call for Mark Hydrich to Planning and Zoning Commission.
Pettit,
Is it just yay or nay?
Yes.
Nay.
The majority?
Yes.
Hydrich,
Aye.
Scornia,
Yes.
Wessels,
Aye.
Patke,
Yes.
Sullentrop,
Yes.
Holtmeyer,
Nay.
Obermark.
Aye.
Kind of makes it academic.
Motion carries, correct?
Yes.
You didn't need my vote. You didn't need my vote.
All right.
You do have a motion on the floor to nominate Gretchen Pettit. You should
Okay.
just go ahead and
So we'll
vote.
take a roll call vote for Gretchen to Planning and Zoning Commission.
Pettit,
Yay.
Hydrich,
Nay.
Scornia,
No. No.
Wessels,
No.
Patke,
Nay.
Sullentrop,
No.
Holtmeyer,
Nay.
Obermark.
Nay. All right.
Election of council member to 353 Corporation.
Need a motion to elect a member to 353.
I'll make a
Nominate
motion for
Steve
Councilman Sullentrop.
And a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any other nominations? Seeing none? Nominations are closed. See a simple majority?
Yeah, just all in favor.
Okay. So need a, so what do you,
Just say,
All in-
all in favor.
all in favor, there you go. All in favor, Councilman?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay. Election of Board of Health.
I'd like to nominate the 3 newly elected members to the council. Councilman Sullentrop, Hydrich, Pettit, and Scornia to the Board of Health.
3 or 4?
4.
You said 3.
You only need 3?
No. You said 3.
Oh, I'm sorry, the 4 new members.
Right.
The 4 newly elected members.
I'll second.
Second. Any other nominations? Okay, 4 newly elected members to the Board of Health. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none?
Public Facilities Authority reappointment.
Have a recommendation for Dick Mayer to the term expires of June 23rd. I'm sorry, June 2023.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion stands.
Mayor's presentations, appointments, and reappointments. Police Department reappointments.
Have 2 police department members this evening, Nathan Pinner, detective, and Chad Sloan, sergeant, for a 1-year term. Nathan's will be July 8th, and Chad's will be July 15th.
Yes. Both have served for a number of years with the city. Detective Pinter was assigned to the task force for a while. We pulled him back for need here because of cases and also to work drug cases in our town, and he is doing an excellent job there. Chad has been a supervisor for a while now, and he runs his squad efficiently and does an excellent job for the citizens. So I would recommend that you reappoint him.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Packey, second by Hydrich. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Motion carries.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Board of Appeals reappointment.
We have a reappointment to the Board of Appeals to Kurt Understall, term ending in June 2025.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Hydrich, second by Holtmeyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carries.
Library Board of Trustees, reappointments and appointment.
All right. We have 2 appointments, Leanne Gisburn, June 2023, and Diane Lick, June 2023. There's three, I'm sorry. Lynn Hart, term ending of 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Pettit, second by Packey. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None.
Board of Public Works reappointment.
Have a reappointment for Michael Raditic, term ending June 2024.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Packey, second by Scornia. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Park and Recreation Commission reappointments.
Have three here tonight, all terms ending in June 2023. Gavin Woolley, Tessie Steffens, and Danny Cassette.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Packey, second by Hydrich. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Motion stands.
Public hearings, if I could get a motion to postpone.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Hydrich, second by Packey. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Special use permit, 128 Bush Avenue, at and T cell tower.
Any questions on this?
This is a proposed public hearing, or proposed cell tower at the location of 10th Street up there. It's back, basically down the, there we go. Yeah, the sunlight's hitting right at that spot. But basically, right in here is where the tower is proposed, right across from the old Powell's Transformer building. I believe it's 85 feet in height. I don't really know any other part. I think it went through P&Z fairly smoothly. We did not have any opposition to that.
Is that still on top of the hill, or is that the bottom?
Do you have, it's still on top of the hill,
Okay.
I think.
It's right at the corner. Here we
Yeah.
scroll over here. Aaron. Just give
Yeah,
me-
there you go.
Yeah, it's right where the hill starts to break over. So if anything, it's just to the west on the way down of the
Okay.
hill, but it's not at the bottom. Is that, I mean, that's a pretty
didn't
terrible
seem-
explanation, but.
Right.
There's nothing else there, is there?
No, woods.
No, just, it's pretty open woods, open canopy style woods. They're proposing a little close-up view there, but they're proposing a 20-foot rock drive. You can kind of see it there. Sorry, Darren, if I'm
That's all right.
jumping ahead. Or,
I got it, go ahead.
which is pretty typical for any kind of public infrastructure type project. It's really no different than if you were to have a drive to like a lift station or anything like that. It's typically rock.
That drive off 11th Street?
It's off of 10th.
10th,
I mean, 10th Street?
yeah.
Sir. So,
How much area is it actually taking up then?
Darren, I don't know. You see a
Not much.
scale on that? I don't. It's a good question.
Well, the road is 20 foot.
Actually, it's going to take up a lot less than the old ones, they were saying.
20.
It's going to be like the size of the one that's out at the fairgrounds when they have it out there.
So if you, I don't know if you're familiar, well, you can kind of see the ball field right there to the right. Okay, that just gives you some scale. Like a typical baseball field is about X size, so it's about a quarter to a third of what what a ball field would be. So small area.
Smaller than,
Yeah.
Smaller than the end.
Sorry, I'm trying to give you some
Yeah, that's
some
good.
plan
No, that's a good
for
one.
scale.
well, John, you said the road was 20 foot, so it's,
there
basically
you
30
go.
by 30.
There you go.
If it looks close
There you
there.
About 50 by 50.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I apologize. Sal and I went through that, but I didn't have those dimensions. I think the apartments are further to the east, kind of in line with the baseball field, so it's not in line with the apartments, it's further down.
Yeah, they're further down this way. This thing on? Yeah, further down this way.
Is this permit annually, or is it a 3-year?
No, this is a special use permit for them to go ahead and place that tower. Once you put it in place, they don't have to come back to you to renew that at any given time.
Okay.
It's just a one-time deal.
And then the last slide here, we do require screening around it, either landscape screening or a wall in lieu of, and this is the wall they're proposing. So kind of a,
And they had that decorative fence with them at the P and Z.
That's what I
It
was
was, yeah, it's good looking.
and again, 10th Street's not a through street, it's dead end.
How is our, I don't know, in terms of our community, our cell usage, needs, et cetera?
The way Sal described it as downtown, I mean, your cell phone use is spotty at best at times. And they're saying it's because the network is somewhat overloaded. So what this will do is it'll pull some of that usage into this tower, which should free up the towers that would serve the downtown area. So they would anticipate an increase in service or speed or whatever the term is to the downtown and the community and a whole. I would just say, generally speaking, if they're going to go through all the effort to put a tower up, there's probably a use for it. Need for it. Yeah.
This is a better location. We at one time had a group that was wanting to put one, I think on Jefferson,
Yeah.
right on the street, that you would have noticed at a much higher than the existing utility poles there.
Yeah, the
So-
one previously was, you see Big Boys in the far right or east side at Jefferson and 10th. It was actually going to go down right there. Yep, Darren, you just had it, right on the west side of the road.
Yeah.
But just kind of down in that hole was another location for, that was probably 3 years ago now.
Correct. So this is a much better location.
How long is this from start to finish? Do you know?
You mean for how long it takes them to put it up?
Oh, I have no.
I have no idea.
They didn't even say that at the meeting.
Yeah. I don't think it takes,
I mean, you're pouring a foundation and then these are all
Did that one in Martinsville just not too long ago. I think
bolt
it's a couple
together.
months,
I-
2-3
I would
months.
say
Yeah.
that seems reasonable.
How many does AT&T, how many do they have here in town, do you know?
Ooh,
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't mean users, I meant towers.
Yeah, I don't
don't know.
know. Because they've got antenna at different locations. Only thing I can tell you is I think there's been some laws that have changed since the original laws that allowed these to be put up. And one of those is the fact that we do not require them to co-locate anymore. That was one thing that used to be. Any tower that would come up, you would have to go ahead and have space available so that your competitor didn't come in and put up another one right across the street. And that has been taken away. We cannot use zoning for that. And then the second item is that you used to have it was required that you had to have a study to show what the range is, where you're covering, and whether it was needed at that location. The city could require a third party to go ahead and do that study, and then the applicant would have to pay for the cost of that study. So that was, for example, that's how the one was completed behind Orscheln's down there. But
I mean, it's real similar to that behind Orson's, I'm assuming.
a monopole,
Yeah, it's a monopole situation. Yeah, not a guy wire situation that you see up 70 or something.
Right.
Any other questions?
It's a public hearing, right?
correct? Open the floor up for
Motion
any
to send it on
comments.
to council.
Anyone in the audience would like to comment?
I'll second.
Is there a motion?
Holtmeyer made a
Oh, I'm
motion.
sorry, I missed that. Motion by Holdmeyer, second by Solomon. All in favor?
Aye.
An ordinance granting a special use permit for an AT&T cell tower located at 128 Bush Avenue in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Solotrup.
This is what we just discussed. We'll take a vote on that, correct?
An ordinance granting a special use permit for an AT&T cell tower located at 128 Bush Avenue in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
Patke.
Yes.
Selinchup.
Yes.
Holtzmeyer.
Aye.
Obermark.
Aye. Citizens' comments?
Report of department heads, budget amendment, new municipal pool.
Good evening again. In front of you, you have a letter about the new pool. So the Aquatics Facility Committee, admin, the Parks Board, we've all met and looked over the pool design. What you see in front of you, the table illustrates the additions and subtractions of various pool features and the associated pricing. At the bottom of the page there is the RFP adjusted price of the pool, $4,123,239. And then, Darren, I don't know if you want to talk about.
I could talk just a little bit. I mean, the big difference, I think, between the original rendering that you saw and what's been added, there was a larger feature in the zero entry portion of the pool right as you walk in. At one point, that was staff had asked the Westport team to go ahead and see what could we do to make that look a little bit better. We also had some comments with regards to slides for small kids, et cetera, and where could those be located. So we worked with Westport. We told them some of the items that we wanted to take off of there. The aqua zip line, for example, if you'll remember, that was on the competition portion of the pool. We had, Wayne had done some research on those, found a few issues that we had concerns with, i.e., you know, the maintenance of it, and two, the additional having to have a lifeguard, I think, there as well, caused the committee and everybody to reconsider that. And again, our focus was primarily on what can we do as you walk into that zero entry, and what's the wow factor, if we can, for that. And so I think what they've decided on is kind of similar in size, I would say, to what our leisure pool was with regards to that feature that was in there. It's something similar to that, only it's got a slide on there as well for the smaller kids. And then the other item that was discussed, and the council will remember, the issue was raised about the high dive and whether or not we wanted to go ahead and add that to this. As we explained in the previous meetings, and I think I tried to explain it that night, that, you know, we went through a survey process with the general public. We wanted them to go ahead and provide with us what features they wanted, and mostly those features we accommodated. I think we had taken care of with the design. That was not one of an item that was really ranked as high as some of the other features that we wanted to go ahead and include, but both the Parks Board and the Aquatics Committee both felt that if you don't take into accommodation to go ahead and dig it deeper now, you'll never be able to add it later. So the idea was dig it deeper now so that you can add it on if you choose to do so, 5 years, 10 years. And if for some reason, so for example, competitive diving would take off and we needed that, well, then we could go ahead and add that at a later date. You also have the ability to add another slide to this, you know, at a later date. And so we're sizing those things and taking a look at those. And essentially what we would do is, if you approve this adjustment to the budget, we will go ahead and look for cuts to what we can do in the capital improvement sales tax. I've already told Wayne part of that was we had a shed fixture that we wanted to go ahead and keep some of the equipment under wraps out there at the parks. I think that was $550,000 towards that. We think we can get that done for a lot less, and so we could easily take that money from that to add to this feature there. That's the other thing I wanted to bring up is John has also been working with the civil portion of that to deal with the wall that's out there next to Circle Drive. We would be adding a sidewalk along that portion of the roadway, a retaining wall, and then you'd have a 3-to-1 slope with grass so that can be easily maintained, better than what the rock wall that you see there that's there today. That portion of the contract would be covered under the transportation sales tax, because that's transportation related with Circle Drive, and so we separated that, and we're working on that. I don't think, do we have a price on that, on those improvements yet?
No, we do not. The wall, in order.
That is not reflected in this. That's what I just wanted to make you say. That's a separate.
Correct. It's in, we put a budget, in Darren's budget he's looking at right now. There's a placeholder for that until I get the number in yet, but I'm working on that. That'll also have a sidewalk connection through the park. I guess there's a,
Echo Camp Park.
yeah.
Green area across the street.
Over to
from-
Fair Street, essentially, as a connection. As part of this year's transportation project, Fair Street was identified as one to get overlaid, and there's going to be a sidewalk that runs along there as well. So you would have a sidewalk all the way down from Horn Street, essentially, down Fair Street to Echo Camp Park, but there would not be a connection over to the pool, which seems ridiculous. So part of this transportation project that Darren's talking about in next budget year has that sidewalk connector as well, which I think brings value to, we
Yes,
agree, brings
I
value to the
agree.
park as well. So it's kind of bringing the facility, the pool, and bringing all those ways and paths to get there as effectively as possible.
Some other, just quickly, some other items that were changed that in order to accommodate or come to this price, we eliminated the original shade structures, the design of how they were going to do this, and we changed those with cantilevered shade designed, and that saved us about $20,000.
And that also kept poles out from being in the ground.
Yes, so
the
you can
deck.
go ahead and drive on the
Poles
deck.
being on the deck of the pool, and
Correct.
off the wall out, so that was a.
They also expanded the spray pad area to make it larger than what that original rendering that you had, and as well as, I think there were some other pad features that were added to that to go ahead and enhance that spray pad area. So, and that's the bulk of what you have in the letter.
I got a question. Is it a concrete bottom? I've never heard. I would just assumed it was a concrete bottom.
Yes, yeah. It'll be concrete and then plaster on the inside of it.
No tile?
The only tile will be, I think, around the scum line, what they call the scum line, where the water meets kind of at the top of the pool. Kind of like what we have it now in the leisure pool. There's tile around the very top of it, so be tile there. And then the, where it says no diving and, let's see, the depth of the pool, those will be in tile, cemented into the deck. So like, if it says 3 foot 6 inches, that'll be made out of little square tiles and then placed in the deck. So we want, like right now, all our depths are spray painted on, and if you don't get the stencils line quite right, they don't look very nice, and so it'll be a nice, more of a permanent fix. Yeah.
I would just add one more. We did talk to Westport. They are going to provide a second rendering
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
for
Yeah,
your viewing.
correct.
So,
Second one.
a second rendering, like the colored photo that you saw, they're actually.
That was in the
gonna hand-
paper, yeah.
And finish that with these changes, so you get the most current document to view, which it's easy for us to say what's in there, but
And not necessarily the money wise, but it also, by making the changes we did make, eliminating the zip line thing, which was a hazard feature, whatever you want to call it. But now we can fence or separate the competition pool from the rest of the pool. So if we have a swim meet there, they can stay there, swim meet on half of the pool, and the rest of the pool can still be open. The leisure pool, the zero entry pool, at this time, there's a meet there, the pool's shut down for the night, day, whatever. But this now allows that to be separated. You know, they'll have a rope off or whatever it might be, but they'll be able to have it both at the same time. So I thought that was a pretty good feature too. Instead of closing the pool just for a meet, it'll still be open for leisure pool, zero entry pool, et cetera. So.
Right, yeah, they would really have their two separate entrances. The swim team could use like the current parking lot now that we have in front of the existing pool house, and then use the steps coming down to the south side of the building and enter that way. And then the pool would be roped off, so you could have a swim meet going on, and then all the other patrons that are using the leisure pool would enter through the new building, and they really wouldn't pass each other really at all, so.
So when are we gonna throw numbers out for the upstairs of the old building for offices, correct?
Yeah, I think that's a little ways down the road.
You do not have a funding source at this
Yeah.
time for that, so that's something we can pursue down the road. That was not identified with the capital improvement sales tax, but certainly that was something that we were thinking about large, big term, larger picture for the future, so.
I mean, the basement of the pump house is basically a bathroom and a changing room is proposed now in storage, correct?
The existing pool house and the men's locker room side would be the pool mechanical room where all the pumps and motors are, and then the rest of the basement down there would right now be open.
Oh.
We'll try to convert that too, as the budget allows, to maybe a restroom or a swim team area, like a open room of some kind, or there's a couple different options floating around out there, but right now the rest of it's not funded, so.
Right. I may have not seen it in the rendering on the last meeting we had, but the Circle Drive, where the plants are, I've noticed it's all gone. Is that going to be incorporated to part of this?
That'll be part of the existing, or part of the new parking lot, I should say. The new parking lot will
Oh,
come out to
okay,
that.
the 20 parking spots or whatever it was?
30.
Yeah, 30,
32?
32, I
There'll be
believe.
one road going in on the bottom side. in the
Greg
park.
is back there shaking his head, 32.
So it'll just be one road going back to the ball fields?
Correct.
Right.
There'll be no split road anymore.
Okay.
Like I said, we're eliminating our only roundabout.
Damn it.
Union is
Get lost on that thing. Some people get lost on that thing.
Anyone else? Questions?
I do have, since it is a report of department heads, real quick, I just wanted to update council on, I worked with Mark Scornia on a plan to open up some of the park facilities. And so starting today, you'll see, we worked on it, or I got, after the governor made some announcements late last week, then Mark and I had a discussion over email on how we can start to open up some of our stuff based on current guidelines and some research that he found. So today we opened some of the high-use restrooms, so all abilities playground restroom, the amphitheater restroom, and the riverfront restroom. Next Monday, the 22nd, we'll open the remaining restrooms, and then all playgrounds will open up tomorrow, the 16th. And then also, since testing is completed out at the fairgrounds, the county testing through the CARES Act, we'll deconstruct the testing facilities and get the fairgrounds straightened up out there too.
Wayne, has any of the playground equipment been sanitized or power washed or anything like that since this?
No, we reached out to a company today. Staff did, about power washing it. If it's not power washed, we'll be cleaning it with a approved Lysol water solution that you can spray on and let it dry. That's how we'll be treating the playgrounds.
And the
Staff will do that every day then.
The product itself is reimbursable then through the CARES Act. We'll keep a running tab, just like on all the other items that we have.
That's all I had for report.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Could we go back and get a motion to approve the budget amendment for
Make
the
a
new
motion.
pool?
Second.
Motion by Hydrich, second by Pettit. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Any
Any
other
other-
department heads?
I'll just give you a quick update. There's been some discussion or some questions regarding the Riverfront Trail still, and I know it's probably good every couple of months we remind the public that the Riverfront Trail cannot be opened or repaved until the rock is removed out of the Missouri River. That was part of the construction of the bridge. That rock has to, in order for that rock to be removed, the river elevation has to drop to approximately 8 gauge height. which I know if you follow that on the Missouri River gauge information online, I don't think we've seen that in upwards of a year or plus.
Right.
So there's a significant amount of rock that has to be picked up out of the river, literally placed on a dump truck, and then hauled down that trail. So it makes zero sense for us to pave a trail, get it opened, and then destroy it, and then pave it again. So that's a permit requirement by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So there's not a whole lot that us as the city can do to get that open. We're diligently working Bush Creek Greenway, getting that permitted, getting that taken care of, which that's a further item on this agenda. But we understand the frustration. It's just Mother Nature's got to allow that window to happen.
We had stockpile down South Point.
Yeah, there's a couple locations. I'm glad you brought that up. There's a spot, I don't recall, it's about maybe 1,000 foot to the west. That'll take about 10 to 15% of the rock. What that does to the west, in the river, we have it permitted to fill that area in to protect the trail in the future. That should speed up the removal process once it starts. The remaining then part of that rock will go to South Point and be stockpiled by the treatment plant. What are we going to do with the rock? There's various concepts. One would be maybe to crush it for future city use, but that takes additional money that I don't have budgeted yet. The other thing is it sits there. Something can be done with it in the future at any point. But yes, it'll be stockpiled. It is the city's rock. We can use it for anything in the future.
You think we could crush it and then use it for rock on the trail?
Yeah, yep, that's one thing we were looking at doing for sure. We have a significant amount of asphalt millings sitting at the Public Works facility that came off of Beaker Studerman as one way that we would haul over to get base for the trail, which is a great paving base. But the other one was we crush on site, and then as we roll that rock out, place it as we go. But there's a coordination issue, and we just got to be ready to go. The plans are ready to be bid for the asphalt, so everything's ready to go. It's just it needs to quit raining north of us.
Need to wait for Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Now, how far does it need to drop? Where is it now compared to?
I just checked. We were here. I got it right here. We're at 13 today, so 8 feet. That's a long way to go, especially when moisture content is around 98% in the soil right now. So any drop of rain that hits.
It was 18 last week, though. It's went down a lot.
It was 20.
Yeah, 20 last Wednesday.
It has. But the problem with it is you get a quick drop and then it'll level out
Right.
because the majority of water that's in the river right now is actually being released from the lakes up in the Dakotas. So see, it all kind of comes down. So you gotta get a window of where those lakes stop releasing in order for you to get your window. And that just has not happened with the wet year last year and this year, to be honest with you. I know it doesn't seem wet here right now, but it's a challenge. And it's one that we as the city for a $300,000 trail can't solve. Unilaterally, at least.
Right.
Snowfall did they have in the Dakotas this year?
March, and Mark Skornick could probably, we had a webinar about that. In March, they were running 98 percentile in moisture content in the Dakotas. So it was a higher than average year, and the soil itself is wetter, 98% over the 60-year average. So it's a substantial amount of water. And that also goes to, if you get any calls about water main breaks and there's water in my backyard, it's never been there before, well, that's because the groundwater table has risen so much that just water levels are so high. It's 9 times out of 10, it's nothing to do with infrastructure.
And the bridge lights are still not ours yet, right?
Correct. Bridge lights are not ours. Bridge lights are not functioning 100% yet. So there's a 15-day trial period that MoDOT specifies. The bridge lights have to work 100% for that 15 days. Once that happens, then they get transferred to us. Then there's multiple warranties that go into effect. 1-year warranty for parts and labor, and then a 5-year parts warranty. They're having issues with some of the controllers shorting out. So that takes a barge. So anytime there's an issue, you got to float a barge up and try to diagnose the issue. So it's a challenge.
That's going to be our problem eventually.
Will be after the 15 days when they get them working 100%. Just be aware of that. Sorry, long explanation, but.
Any other department heads?
Ordinances, resolutions. An ordinance accepting the bid from Jarrell Mechanical Contractors and to approve the purchase of a compressor and cassette and amend the 2019-2020 budget by the City of Washington, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Councilman Holtmeyer. This is for the repairs at the library.
Yet again.
Yet again.
Wayne is here, and I think we've got a representative from Gerald, so.
Yes, as Darren alluded to, this letter looks very similar to the one you had, I think, last month. And so I won't go through all of that. Long story short, we had CTS come in and do, or they recommended, I should say, Gerald Mechanical to come in and test the system. And so Gerald has been on site over early and late spring and now early summer and tested the site. And they found, as I mentioned last time we discussed this, they found a number of settings that were incorrect, which has put probably undue stress on the equipment, the HVAC equipment. And this compressor that just went out about a week after I was just up here last time, and Mike can fill you in a little more on that, but on Monday it tested fine. They test these compressors every so often. Monday it tested fine, and then Wednesday it went out. And I don't have an explanation for it, other than they can't predict the future either, but we think that it's due to some of the settings that were incorrectly set. So I will let Mike Lawrence, who's here from Gerald, kind of give you a brief overview on their experience with the system since probably March, I guess it was, February, March, and what they've done to the system up until this point and what they've been seeing up until this point.
Good evening. So our first findings, we found the one compressor bad and the first cassette bad. The initial due diligence that we did was a couple days long, so we were limited on time span on what we could go through. Obviously, to do a good solid test on any kind of leaks on these systems, you need to pull the refrigerant, pump up the charge to 500 PSI for your nitrogen, and that will determine if you have any leaks in the system. So obviously that first 2-day due diligence did not include that. So we basically got to the first approval, your compressor and your cassette. Factory always recommends you do an overnight charge of 500 PSI, and it holds overnight, and then you're good to go after that. 500 PSI is a lot of pressure in a system. So basically, so the second one we did find, the other cassette, the second compressor, we don't really have no reason. We have our own theories on how these go out. When you have any kind of leaks in the system, the oil and the refrigerant flow together throughout the system. So if you don't have that refrigerant to push that oil, the oil gets stuck out in the system and does not lubricate the compressor, so you get wear and tear. So more than likely, all your compressors, if it had leaked out, the refrigerant leaked out, has some kind of wear and tear on your compressors internally. There's no way for us to see inside of them. There's no way for us to tell you if it's going to last 20 more years or a week. Kind of just is what it is, unfortunately, where they're at right now. So any questions on any of that?
So we're only replacing one compressor and one cassette at this time.
Right, and then it goes back to the reason why it's cheaper this time than it was last time, because it's pretty much the same repairs as we've already done the overnight charge.
Oh, okay.
So now we can get that in one day, because we don't have to do that charge again. I mean, we can if you guys wanted to, but it doesn't make any sense to do that. So it saves you a whole another day in labor per repair on these. And then obviously refrigerant too. We can reuse the refrigerant, so.
You said there was some leaks found?
Yes, sir. The cassettes, so basically, I don't know if you've ever seen the VRF, there's cassettes, instead of like a furnace down in your basement, you have cassettes on the walls.
Yeah.
It's kind of,
Familiar with that.
yeah, new style, but sometimes those things spring leaks and there's nothing really can do about them except just fix them when they pop up, so.
Any other questions? Nope. Thank you.
All right, have a good evening.
I guess we need air conditioning in the library, huh?
Yep, sounds like it.
We kind of do.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. it's
Whoa,
already-
whoa,
Yep.
whoa.
We'll get read again.
An ordinance accepting the bid from Jarrell Mechanical Contractors and to approve the purchase of a compressor and cassette and amend the 2019-2020 budget by the City of Washington, Missouri. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Wessels? Patchkey?
Yes.
Sullentrop?
Yes.
Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark?
Aye. Your vote. The motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a parking license agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Waste Management of Missouri, Inc.
Holtmeyer.
Holtmeyer, Councilman Holtmeyer, this is out at the landfill.
Correct. John, you want to explain again?
Yes, so approximately a year ago, Tony brought to Andrew and I's attention that they were mobilizing some equipment at the landfill, and there were various dumpsters that were owned by Waste Management and other trash hauling companies that were just strewn, scattered throughout the backside of the landfill. So my question, well, why are they there in the first place? Because I'm not aware of any agreement. So we talked about that. Andrew reached out to the various dumpster owners and let them know that we were going to be looking into going into an agreement with them if they wanted to keep their dumpsters or roll-off dumpsters at the landfill for free, essentially. So going through that, the only one who still wanted to utilize that was Waste Management. That does not mean that somebody else may not want to come in and take up a couple of these parking spaces in the future, but they're the only ones that wanted to take advantage of that right now. So as we were going through that, Andrew put together a letter for you all. It's basically an agreement that they have 20 units that we've identified on a plan that shows where these things are going to go. It's going to go on the 10 acres that we just, or 9.72 acres that we just purchased at $35 a month, which is a $700 a month revenue to the solid waste fund. There's an additional 20 parking stalls that they could expand to, that anyone could come into if they want to go into agreement with them. Essentially what it is we told them to leave. They said, we want to stay. What is it going to cost us? This is what we agreed upon. So it's a revenue source.
How close is that to the entrance to the landfill?
It's, you'll be able to see them, but it's not, where you make the bend to go to the new cell, to go to the back, it's on the right side where we just purchased that 9.72 acres. So to the east side of the actual cell. Nobody knew they were there prior to this, other than operations guys, unless you guys like tours of the landfill. Just cleaning something up.
Anyone else?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a parking license agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Waste Management of Missouri, Inc. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Wessels? Patchkey?
Yes.
Sullentrop? Obermark?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Now your vote, motion carries.
So if another company wants to rent a stall, we'll have to come back and make an ordinance for them too?
Yeah, you'll have your own parking license agreement with them. Now, we're not advertising. It's just, it's there. There's 20 additional stalls right now.
All right.
Think of it as a parking, like I said, it's a parking lot for dumpsters.
Right.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a downtown building rehabilitation agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and James and Cheryl Jensen.
By Councilman Holtmeyer.
This is a small TIF agreement for the property located at 116 West Front Street. Their intentions are to go ahead and rehabilitate the structure. There's going to be using the facade program, which allows them up to $40,000 in possible rebates, and the upstairs residential, which has an additional $30,000 of available rebates. It is so they could qualify for $70,000 total. However, it's a lot less than that than what's actually probably they're going to see as a result of this agreement. The estimate would be is that there'd be an additional $1,000 annual increase in property taxes based upon these improvements that they're going to go ahead and make. As a result, then they would get $800 back annually as a part of this agreement, and that would end at the rebates would go up until 2030. So $800 a year up until 2030 is nowhere
They get
near
credited for
70,000.
800?
Excuse me?
They get credited for 800?
They get the $800 back in rebates from that $1,000 increase in the taxes.
And they're currently paying what on their property?
I don't know that answer off the top of my head, Mark. I'd have to look.
And which district is that part of?
It's for the downtown, it's for redevelopment area. I don't know what the number is. I want to say if it's one, but it's basically the original one that the bank started back in 2006. Yes, I think it's 2006 because that's when the 23 years runs out. It would be in. Yes, it did. That was the original downtown area, and that started up there with the project, like I said, with the bank in 2006 on Main Street. I'll have to get you back what they're paying in taxes today.
Anyone else? Seeing none?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a downtown building rehabilitation agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri, and James and Cheryl Jensen. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich? Skornia?
Yes.
Wessels? Hatke?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark?
Yes. By your vote, the motion carries.
An ordinance approving a boundary adjustment for the Highlands at Fairfield, Plat 3 in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Scornia.
By Councilman Scornia.
This is a simple lot line adjustment that's up there off of Palomino Court between lots 43 and 44. 43 will have a little over, close to 11,000 square feet, and lot 44 will have 14,300. It's basically the shift in a side yard property line.
Questions?
An ordinance approving a boundary adjustment for the Highlands at Fairfield, Plat 3 in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich? Skornia?
Yes.
Wessels? Hatke?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark?
Aye. By your vote, the motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri, and the Washington School District for 3 school resource officers to be assigned to duty for the Washington School District.
This is a repeat of a contract we've had last year for 3 SROs. We've had a contract with the school district for school resource officers for several years that we renew. Their fiscal year is June 30th ending, so we needed to get that contract taken care of for them so their board could approve. And we also have billing for them for this year for the school district.
This is the second year of a 3-year contract at this price at the $133,000.
And we will definitely look at increasing it in the future,
Increasing the amount or increasing police officers?
increasing the amount.
I guess we are locked into this, I think, again next year, correct? Yeah. So you have this same price again next year when this comes up, and then we'll renegotiate.
Any other questions? Seeing none?
Could I ask who introduced it? I'm sorry.
Holtmeyer.
Holtmeyer.
Okay, thank you. An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri, and the Washington School District for 3 school resource officers to be assigned to duty for the Washington School District. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Skornia?
Yes.
Wessels? Patke?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark?
Aye. By your vote, the motion carries.
Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri, and the School District of Washington, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Councilman Holtmeyer.
So agenda items F and G are both in regards to Bush Creek Greenway. There were 2 locations along the project where we needed to acquire either an easement or actual real property from the School District of Washington. One on Sunnyside as you go up the hill. If you recall, there is a connection to the school complex to get down to the Bush Creek Greenway, just to provide access for those students. That connects them to Jefferson Street, which would in turn connect them to the downtown area. And then the old South Point School, there's a location there in the back that's also off-street, that would be on school district property. So these two agenda items address those. We did not pay for those easements. They were donated to us. Oh,
Right, we've.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. We discussed, we approached the school board about this project back in 2017, and as a matter of fact, Andrea, Lucan, and myself will be going to their board meeting in the morning at 7:30 to make sure that the new board members, if they have any questions with regards to the project, we'll show them the scope of the project and what John just went over for you tonight. And yes, it is based, as John said, it is based on the fact that they will be donating that property to us to make this project work. Otherwise, it's back to the drawing board if we don't. But they have given us a letter of support in the past indicating they recognize the project. But like I said, there's been some change in their board members since 2017, since they were first introduced to it.
John, is there any indication what this is going to add to our budget, or the parks budget in the year time, as far as maintenance goes? And
That was discussed, I'm trying to think here. I think Wayne, not Wayne, Darren at the time, I think discussed that back then, but I don't recall what that discussion item was about. I will say the engineering office has not done an analysis of that.
We could take a look at that and get you that
right,
answer.
I know.
So I just don't have an answer.
My fear is our parks guys are strapped, and here we're doing this. We've done the Miller Post, and they're doing a lot of good things. We just stretch them out, and here's another project that we're going to maintain, take care of. So
This was, I guess, the difference between those two, if I could, for the Miller Post versus this has been on your bicycle and pedestrian facilities plan for 20-some years.
Yeah.
This has been here a long time, and it was just a matter of getting the funding opportunity to go ahead and apply for it. Miller Post, yes, that was all of a sudden discussion started about the possibility of the city taking that over, and then that was not in any original plan. We had no idea that they were even thinking about donating that property to any entity, nonetheless us.
I would also add, I know it's called the Greenway, I know it's a shared use path, and I know that that's what the public's excited about. But this does provide legitimate pedestrian access to the school to get to your downtown facilities. If you drive up Sunnyside Drive, wherever you want, those kids are walking on the streets to get to Dairy Delight, to those other facilities, downtown, that there is no access to, and this is really the only way to get them there. It does, in addition, it does connect over to Highway 47, which you have new sidewalk now that MoDOT just put in from the bridge down to 8th Street, kind of by the Bank of Franklin County, Heritage Bank, I think it's Heritage Bank, but that area right there. This will also connect there, so now you have another connection point, bridge, it kind of ties it really all together. So, yeah, I agree 100% that there would be a little burden, but again, there is no sidewalk access for the schools, and I think that that's a primary mode of transportation for kids that can't drive.
And who knows when our trail's gonna be open, maybe this will be done before the trail's open.
I don't want to comment.
We don't have to worry about the river on this one, that's all I can say. There's the river level.
it's a creek.
Don't say that yet.
I was going to say.
I don't know, yeah, you never know.
Don't say that yet either.
Yeah, that could come back to bite me. Is that what you're worried about?
All right. Anything else? Anyone else? Seeing none?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the School District of Washington, Missouri. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Wessels? Patke?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark?
Aye. By your vote, the motion passes.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a quitclaim deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the School District of Washington.
Same thing, different location?
It's essentially the same thing, different location. And Jeff, real quick, just to maybe answer that, with additional amenities, to your bikeable, walkable plan. I mean, I think we all need to understand that does come additional cost for maintenance in the future. So, I mean, this is a pretty big step in the right direction on that, just to connect people. So I mean, we just need to kind of be aware of that there is a maintenance component to it. I just didn't know what the exact answer was. So just be aware of that in the future.
Any other comments? Seeing none?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a quitclaim deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the School District of Washington. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Wessels? Petke?
Yes.
Stellentrup? Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark.
Aye. By your vote, the motion passes.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Ricky G. Rolfing.
Pettit.
Okay, this is another federally funded project. This is an STP project 8020. Agenda items H through N are the same thing, just different parcels. High Street overlay and sidewalk improvements essentially does the same thing. It creates a sidewalk on the west side of High Street from Highway 100 to, I think it's, was that 9th Street, I believe?
9th.
Yeah, 9th Street. So there'll be a sidewalk on that. Paving overlay will be from 100 to 5th Street. So the sidewalk does not go the entire length. It goes essentially to Borgia just to try to connect those community subdivisions, which goes along with what our strategy's been lately. It provides benefit to the school, Borgia specifically, because again, kids walking on the street is not an ideal situation. And anytime you can add a sidewalk component to an STP project, it bolsters your chance to pave the street. So this is 80/20, and these easements are required to get that project done. Specifically, this agenda item H would be the only one that has a substantial dollar number attached to it. We are not paying for the easement, but in order to get a sidewalk in, we have to replace panels of that driveway to do it. The sidewalk goes from the garage to the back of curb on a slope like this, and if you can imagine to put a sidewalk in there, you got to flatten that out. So you have to remove those concrete panels in order to make that slope work out. Physically, you just can't do it without doing that. So this is the only parcel that there's a substantial physical improvement. Again, there was no money paid for the easement, but it was an improvement on the parcel.
That's just one single-family home that was like that?
It is. Yeah, drive up High Street and you'd see exactly what I'm talking about.
So nothing along Borges parking lot, et cetera, is a problem?
No, there'll be obviously the entrance aprons will be removed and replaced,
right.
but you're not replacing, pick a number, 30 foot into the apron, or a lot of these are just sloping, where you gotta remove to get a sidewalk in, and then you'll slope and grade and seed and those type of things. So, still need easements to do that.
Any other questions? Seeing none?
Did someone introduce this?
I did.
Councilwoman Pettit did.
Pettit? Okay, I'm sorry. An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Ricky G. Rolfing. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich? Scornia?
Yes.
Wessels? Patke?
Yes.
Stellentrup?
Yes.
Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark.
Aye. By your vote, the motion passes.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and HOP, Inc.
Stellentrup.
Councilman Silichop?
Get that one off.
It's,
Loop.
It's a delicious.
Is going on?
There we go.
it's the same project, just different location along the corridor. So,
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and HOP, Inc. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich? Scornia?
Yes.
Wessels? Patke?
Yes.
Stellentrup? Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark.
Aye. By your vote, the motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Catholic High School Association of the Archdiocese of St. Louis, Missouri, doing business as St. Francis Borgia Regional High School.
Padkey.
Councilman Patke.
same project, different location.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Catholic High School Association of the Archdiocese of St. Louis, Missouri, doing business as St. Francis Borgia Regional High School. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Wessels? Patke?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark?
Aye.
John, do all these property owners know that this is happening? They all were aware of this and the easement? Okay.
We've met with every one of them.
I thought so. I thought they were all
A
willing.
large percent of them were concerned about sidewalks going in front of their properties, so we had a lot of discussions about it.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Catholic High School Association of the Archdiocese of St. Louis, Missouri, doing business as St. Francis Borgia Regional High School.
Patke?
Councilman Patke.
Same project, same entity, different location.
You have to keep those attorneys, you know.
Paid.
Cha-ching,
I was going to say engineer, but
I think they get paid by the word.
What's that?
They get paid by the word.
Letter.
No.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Catholic High School Association of the Archdiocese of St. Louis, Missouri, doing business as St. Francis Borgia Regional High School. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Patke?
yes.
Yes.
Sullentrup? Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark?
Aye. By your vote, the motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Catholic High School Association of the Archdiocese of St. Louis, Missouri, doing business as St. Francis Borgia Regional High School.
Patke?
Councilman Patke.
Same project, same entity, different location.
You're getting good at that, John.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Catholic High School Association of the Archdiocese of St. Louis, Missouri, doing business as St. Francis Borgia Regional High School. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Wessels? Patke?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark?
Aye. By your vote, the motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Catholic High School Association of the Archdiocese of St. Louis, Missouri, doing business as St. Francis Borgia Regional High School.
Patke?
At this point, it would have been easier to do a consolidation plat. Same project, same entity, different location.
Trying to go to heaven.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Catholic High School Association of the Archdiocese of St. Louis, Missouri, doing business as St. Francis Borgia Regional High School. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark?
Aye.
Get all those down.
By your vote, motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Catholic High School Association of the Archdiocese of St. Louis, Missouri, doing business as St. Francis Borgia Regional High School.
Patke?
We're done.
Consistent.
Councilman Patke.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Catholic High School Association of the Archdiocese of St. Louis, Missouri, doing business as St. Francis Borgia Regional High School. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Yes.
Sullentrup? Holtzmeyer? Obermark?
Aye. By your vote, the motion carries.
Thank you all.
A resolution authorizing the City of Washington to apply for funding through the Franklin County Transportation Committee for the Bush Creek Greenway project in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Pettit.
Councilwoman Pettit.
So each year, each political subdivision or entity in Franklin County is eligible to joust for money, Franklin County, that comes from a transportation sales tax. We are requesting $85,000 to offset our local funding match for the Bush Creek Greenway. I need a resolution to do that. like I said, that's an 80-20 project, and funding would go towards our 20% match. The past 4 years, 5 years, when we have requested money from this, we've kept it around $50,000, $60,000. This year, I'm requesting an additional 25 to bring the total to 85. The project does score very, very high. Out of 100, it's around an 80 plus, which is pretty substantial. And the members of that committee, which are the towns and political subdivisions in Franklin County, vote on that. So it is a competitive deal amongst ourselves. So I will make sure that I vote for our 85,000.
Our city administrator might explain where that money, county gets that money.
You'd like to hear me? You know, I'll hit the repeat till I'll pull the drawstring out of my back. 35% of it comes from retail operations right here, and then we have to go back and apply through a grant process to get the money back. Just so you know.
If you want more, we could try more. There's around 270,000 each year, round numbers.
Any other questions?
This is a
We need a
resolution.
motion.
Oh,
I'll make a motion.
motion by Packey.
Pettit introduced it. You need a
All right,
second.
then I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? By your vote, the motion passes.
Okay, Commission, Committee, and Board reports, if I could just get a motion to postpone the resolution and the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
I don't even know.
Pettit and Holtmeyer.
Pettit and Holtmeyer. Everybody started talking. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Your vote, motion carries.
Mayor's report, liaison committee assignments for discussion and review.
So before you, within your packet, you've got the assignments that were doled out over this past year. I think the mayor would like you to go ahead and take a look at those and pass on to her which ones, if you've got some that you'd like to stay on or ones that you'd like to move to, et cetera. We do have another committee that we are looking at forming for this year. We don't have a name yet necessarily for it, but it kind of coincides with the letter that Sandy prepared or whatever, and she asked me to go ahead and read that for you tonight so that we could have that on the record. So if you can bear with me here, I can go ahead and go through this. Dear council members, over the past 2 weeks, our community has witnessed the publication of 2 racially insensitive memes, cartoons by local businesses. Unfortunately, it is actions like this that put the Washington in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. As I reflect on the consequences of these actions, I can't help but wonder if we as a city have been as sensitive and responsive to racial inequalities as we should be. I highly doubt if any of us who are currently holding an elected position campaigned with words like diversity, inclusion, equality, and social justice. I know I didn't. My only campaign promise was to make sure our city continued to move forward in a positive direction. In an effort to increase my understanding of the racial tensions which have recently come to the forefront of our country, I have attended 2 of our local protests. I listened intently and walked away with a clearer picture. Since then, I have also initiated additional conversations to learn more. As a result, I believe we can do better. There have been calls for the city to issue a statement regarding the editorial cartoon published in the Missourian. After consulting with our city attorney, we agreed it would be inappropriate for us to issue a statement, as the Missourian is a privately owned business. However, I do believe actions speak louder than words. I have asked our administrative staff to look into forming a committee to address any obstacles within our community that prevent inclusion. We envision this group to include representatives from the Chamber, Downtown Washington, local civic groups, area clergy, and the police department and the public at large. Thank you for your consideration of this matter. This is a pivotal time for our city. We need to embrace this opportunity and continue to strive for improvement. Sincerely, Sandy Lucy, Mayor of the city. And to take it a step further, we have reached out to an individual that we thought could help us immensely with this endeavor, and Amy Appel, who's with Peace Lutheran Church. Sandy and I met with her today to discuss the possibility of how she can help us move forward with this, give us names of people throughout the community that she thinks we would benefit from, and then let them come up with a mission statement and purpose. We've tried to give them the guidelines of what we're looking for. So we'll keep you in touch with this. I know some of you have reached out to Sandy asking about possibility serving on this. So, like I said, we'll be in touch with that as this committee kind of continues to form. But that would be added to the list of the liaison assignments that we have before you. Any questions?
Darren, I would also suggest, I didn't see it in there, some 40, 45 years ago, when a lot of the inclusion issues came up concerning handicapped individuals. The first system I really believe that was hit with that and made responsible were schools, public schools. And so we went through a lot of work back then, back in the 80s, trying to figure that out and go through all that, and you know, a lot of mistakes made at first and so on. But anyway, I think it might be an advantage, and that, you know, it could have been at large, but to have someone from the school system who certainly deal with as diverse a group as we see in the area anyway.
Correct.
All right. City Administrator report?
No report. I do have a couple items for you, though, in executive session.
Council comments?
Seeing none?
Public vote on whether or not to hold a closed meeting to discuss legal, personnel, and real estate matters pursuant to Section 610.021 RSMO. Pettit?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Fornia?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Sullentrop?
Yes.
Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark?
Aye. That we are adjourned.
Aaron, did you get extra copies of everything you need?
Yes.
Okay.
Nice job, Aaron.